Good evening, everyone. Thank you, everyone joining me and everyone, on those in person and those in person on Zoom. Thank you. Let's start with the prayers to tune up our motivation, attention, and purpose by reflecting on the qualities of the Triple Gem and the importance of cultivating the essence of the teachings, that is altruism, in our thoughts, words, and deeds in every day, and especially before receiving and reading these holy texts. Oyenda Buddha Dharma Sangha Tere Ladam Bhavaja Ajendala Ajare Padavachubhya Endabu Tadarama Sangha Ajare Vijaladam Bhavaja Ajendala Ajare Padavachubhya Endabu Tadarama Sangha Ajare Vijaladam Bhavaja Ajendala Ajare Padavachubhya Endabu Tadarama Sangha Ajare Vijaladam Bhavaja Ajendala Ajare Padavachubhya. May all beings have happiness and a cause of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the cause of suffering. May they know a power from the happiness that knows no suffering. May they dwell in equanimity, free from attachment, aversion, those never power. May all beings have happiness and cause of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the cause of suffering. May they know a power from happiness that knows no suffering. May they dwell in equanimity, free from attachment, aversion, those never power. May all beings happiness and the cause of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the cause of suffering. May they never bow from the happiness that knows no suffering. May they dwell equanimity, free from attachment and aversion, to the near and far. Ego the intelligence hybrid possession of every the yet and the dharma agrelo come Greetings, everyone. Tonight we are in the Vesak month, which according to the Theravada tradition, they've been celebrating Vaisakh since the last Saturday. And so, in any case, any time that you are listening, reading, studying Dharma is very good, especially if it coincides with auspicious months such as this. So please rejoice the time that you are able to be healthy and free, and most importantly, disciplined and dedicated to give time to listen to these teachings. We are now continuing the second part of Buton's book, which the book 2, which is supposed to start the history of Buddhism, but the main thing is that it first will discuss the way in which the doctrine took its origin in the world, takes origin in the world in general, actually, because you have to know when does a Buddha appear, and what is the time that he chooses or world requires, or so it's going to look at the way in which the doctrine takes origin in this world, and how it appeared particularly in India and Tibet. So first is a rise of Buddhism, and it's how it developed in India. So when the Bodhisattva brings to the Bodhisattva means Buddha coming to the world. When the Bodhisattva brings to accomplishment of accumulation merit, means when the Bodhisattva has accomplished his merit to come to the world, or otherwise when the sphere of activity, as the Buddha has become completely pure, and when roots of the virtue in the converts have attained maturity, meaning when we are receptive, collectively receptive to receive a Buddha, 2 points. One is Buddha himself have completed all his merits. Another is ourselves becoming ready. Then the Buddha appears in his chosen world. For instance, here in India. There are many Buddhas that have already appeared during different eons, and many are still to come. So we have to distinguish who comes when. First, the eons in which Buddhas appear in general, so this will teach us the concept of eons. Then the rise of Buddha during the fortunate eons. 3, the appearance of the highest sages of the Shakyamuni in this world, the most particular subject of our narrative. So of these 3 sub-subjects, first we look at the concept of different eons or kalpa. The first, different eons are to be divided into the bright and dark eons, or what they call light and dark eons. The former are those that are marked by the appearance of Buddha. Bright eons are sometimes called, bright eons are light eons, during which the Buddhas appear, and the latter, which is dark eon, during which Buddhas do not appear. In the light eon, which is called the fortunate, that which we live in, the number of Buddhas that have already come and are still to appear is 1,000 or 1,005, depending to which interpretation you choose. The fortunate eon is to be followed by 60 great dark eons. Then there will come a great bright eon named Mahayashas. And during that 10,000 Buddhas will arise. Thereafter, 10,000 dark eons will pass away and will be succeeded by a bright eon called the star-like, with 80,000 Buddhas. 300 dark eons will then follow, and after they have passed, a bright age named Guna Bhuya will come, during which 84,000 Buddhas appear. So says the Bhadra Kalpika Sutra. Bhadra Kalpika Sutra means the eon of the fortunate eon. So therefore, Buddha therefore means only rise during bright eons after intervening many dark eons. Yeah? So that's very much highlighting usually the rarity of Buddhas coming to the world. And to look at the rise of Buddhas during Prachina Eon, here we meet with two versions. Rise of 1,000 true Buddhas according to the Karuna Pundarika Sutra, and that of 1,000 Buddhas according to the Tathagata Achintya Guhya Nirdesha. So this is different between 1,000 and 1,005 Buddhas. According to the first one, Karuna Pundarika Sutra, in olden times when the great Eon named Dharana was lasting in the world, there lived a king whose name was Aranemi, a universal sovereign, ruling over 4 continents. King had 1,000 sons, Animisa and the rest, and was the oldest and was the lord paramount of 84,000 tributary sovereigns. His chief household priest was Brahman Samudra Renu, who had 80 sons and 1,000 young brahmanas for his pupils. One of the 80 sons, the Brahmana Samudra Graba, attained supreme enlightenment and became a Buddha, known by the name of Ratnagarbha. The great servant Arameni worshipped the Buddha uninterruptedly for 3 months, and so did each of his 1,000 sons, 250 years and 3 months having passed away in this manner. Then the Buddha's father, Brahmana Samudra Renu, worshipped him for 7 years, and after having heard the doctrine from him, he had a dream. He saw the king Arameni was eating the flesh of many living beings and was finally himself devoured by wild beasts, tiger, etc. He saw, likewise, some of the king's ministers who, mounted on chariots, were attending to travel by a wrong way. Having beheld these and many other visions, Samudra Renu asked the Buddha the meaning of each of them. The Buddha prophesied that the king would be greatly attached to his royal power, commit sinful deeds, and through these fall into evil births and perpetually abide in the samsara, that his ministers would become Shravakas and Pratyeka Buddhas, and others would attain enlightenment. Thereupon the Brahmana went to the king and said, "O great sovereign, it is not easy to become born in human form, meet with the parents of Buddha, and with favorable condition for entering upon the path of liberation. Therefore, make my initial vow for the attainment of supreme enlightenment." The king, thus addressed, replied, "I have no desire to attain enlightenment and become a Buddha. I am too much attached to this worldly existence." So was the motive which was put forth for his refusing to make initial vow. The Brahmana summoned him again and again, and the king finally promised to make the vow. If he could obtain a sphere of activity as a Buddha, he would suit him. Thereafter, the Buddha Ratnagarbha became absorbed in meditation called Adarsha Viha, and then, after he had miraculously demonstrated the great multitude of worlds of Buddha activity, Brahmana Samudra Renu summoned the king to choose the world which pleased him most. The king, having obtained faith, returned to his city, entered his palace, and having forbidden the people to disturb him, gave himself up to the thoughts how to secure the world in which he was to become a Buddha. His example was followed by all his 1,000 sons. In the meanwhile, Brahmana Samudra Renu converted a great number of living beings to the teachings of the highest virtue. After 7 years had passed away, king invited by the gods set out with his attendant, and having come in the presence of the Buddha Ratnagarbha, he beheld his world of Buddhaic activity, made his initial vow. Then the Buddha uttered a prophecy by the force of which the king was to become the Buddha Amitayus in the region of Sukhavati. King's eldest son, Animisa, was, after Amitayus attaining nirvana on the very morn, that is, to follow the eve when his doctrine would cease to exist, to be the Buddha named Samanta Rashmi Abudidgata Sri Kuta Raja. After having attained nirvana, the second son prophesied up to that time to be the Bodhisattva Mahasthema Prapta. was to attain Buddhahood under the name of Supratishta Gunamani Kutta Raja. The third son was to be Buddha Bodhisattva Manjushri, and subsequently Buddha Samanda Darshan in the region called Shuddha Viraja Samnischaya. The fourth was to be Samantabhadra, fifth Padmotar, sixth Dharma Vashavarti Chara Raja, seventh the Prabhasha Viraja Samudacharya Gande Shwara Raja, and eighth Jnana Vajra Vishkambinishra Ketu. At the same time, 1,000 living beings likewise received the prophecy for future Buddhahood. Then came the ninth son, who was to be known Buddha Akshobhya, the 10th Suvarna Prashpa, and the 11th Jayosoma. In such way, all the 1,000 princes and 84,000 tributary sovereigns and 920 million living beings more, and 80 sons of Samudra Renu, his 1,000 pupils and 30 million Brahmana were foretold to become Buddhas. A long series ending with Buddhas Vipashiyan, Shakshikin, and Vishwabhu. Next came 1,000 Brahmanas who recited the Vedas. First of these, having received the prophecy, such as likewise granted to the second Jyotipala, who was to be Karkochanda and the first Buddha of the fortunate eon. Third, Tumbura, who was to be Kanakamuni, and the fourth, Vishwagupta, the Buddha Kashyapa, and the fifth, Vimalaveshayana, later was to become future Buddha Maitreya. In the same way, all the other Brahman scholars received the prophecy of Buddhahood up to the 999th. Then the Brahmana Samudra-Renu said to the last of the scholars, "Choose thy sphere of activities, make thy initial vow." The scholar, whose name was Mahabala Vegadharin, prayed him to wait a while, and after 5 attendants of Samudra-Renu had chosen their sphere of activity, taken their vows, were foretold to become Buddha of the fortunate eon, he went to the Buddha Ratnagarbha and asked, "O Lord, will there be many Buddhas that resemble the sun by their luster? By in this fortunate eon?" The Buddha replied, "Sages resembling the sun that are to appear will be 1,004 in number." Mahabala Vega therein then made the following entreaty: "May I live as long as all those 1,004 Buddhas resembling the sun, all of them taken together, and may the number of my disciples be as great as that all of them taken together." Buddha Ratnagarbha gave his approval, saying, Well hast thou spoken, and prophesied that Mahabala Vegadharin would become the Buddha Rocha. After all this had taken place, Brahmana Samudra-Renu began to ponder. The great king and many other living beings have made their initial vow and accepted each their pure world of Buddha activity. The time is to come for me to make likewise my initial vow. So thought he, and full of great commiseration, looked upon the impure world of suffering and living beings therein harsh and cruel, living in the 10 vices, committing the 5 inexpiable sins, hard to convert, made 500 great vows that he would lead them to the path of liberation. And his words, being full of power of truth, Buddha Ratnagarbha approved them, saying, "Well said, the energy of Bodhisattva manifests itself in 4 ways. One of them is to make the vow for the conversion of the suffering impure world. Thou art a Bodhisattva who resemble a white lotus, whereas others are but other ordinary flowers." Thus he praised them greatly and prophesied him to be the 4th Buddha, the fortunate Eon Shakyamuni. Thereupon all the Buddhas in the 10 quarters of the sky offered their gifts, and all living beings, gods and men, worship the future Buddha. After that, Buddharatna Garbha passed away into nirvana, and the monument harboring his relics was erected and worshipped for 360 million years. The Buddha Brahmin Samudra Renu entered the religious order and lived in seclusion for 20,000 years. Such is the account concerning the rise of 1,005 Buddhas during the fortunate eon. Now the second version, the version of Tathagata Chinta Guhya Nirdesha. In olden times, during the eon of beautiful light, there appeared in the country called Vibhushita the Buddha Ananta Guna Nantaratna Viharaja. At that time, in the palace called Vishuddhimati, there dwelt a universal sovereign Dhritarashtra, whose power extended all over the 4 continents and who had 700,000 queens and 1,000 sons. This king zealously worshipped the Buddha and his congregation of monks of 10 million years and made each of the monk a present of the 3 slaves. At that time, the young princes became full of desire to attain enlightenment, and amongst them the following verse became current. Seldom does a Buddha appear in the world. Birth in human form is hard to be secured. And as to friends that have faith and study in the doctrine, such may scarcely be met with even during 1,100 eons. And once the king and the wives and sons were sitting in his palace built of finest sandalwood, he was miraculously raised up to the skies and came to sit in the presence of the Buddha, who expounded his doctrine to him, saying, O great monarch, thou must never lose faith. Constantly abide on sublime path. The king, after having heard him, returned to his palace, and at the time when the moon was full glance, his 2 wives, Anindita and Anupama, bore him such a son, former Dharmachetas, and the latter Dharmamati. With these 2 newborn sons, the king continued to listen to the doctrine delivered by the Buddha. Once the following thought came to the king: all these my sons will certainly attain enlightenment, but I'm still eager to know who of them will first become a Buddha. Accordingly, he wrote down the names of all his young princes, deposits in the billets in a precious urn made of the 7 kinds of jewels. 7 days of the king abided in uninterrupted prayer, and then, in the presence of the queens, 1,000 sons and the 2 newly born infants, near a relative of king drew out the billets containing names of the princes. The name of Vishuddhamati was the first to appear, and the trembling of the earth and sounds of the celestial music announced, and he was to become the Buddha Karkochanda. Next came Prince Vijayasena, who was to be Kanakumuni, the Prince Shantendriya, who was to be Kashyapa, Prince Suvarna Siddha, who was to be Shakyamuni, Prince Mekalani, who was to be Maitreya, Prince Shrethamati, who was to be Singha, Prince Vidyuta Deva, who was to be Ketu, Prince Vadraraja, who was to be Pushto Atama, Prince Prabharushri, who was to be Pushpa, Prince Veruchana Padma, who was to be Nakshatra Raja, Prince Vimala Prabha, who was to be Shulochana, Prince Virajas, who was to be Subahu, Prince Maitri Raja, who was to be Prabha, Prince Punya Viharaja, who was to be Jyotirama, Prince Digbhuti, who was to be Abudhyagata, Prince Vishuddha Viharaja, who was to be Gunottama, Prince Sri Gupta, who was to be Dhanashri, Prince Suvik Vaktakaya, who was to be Jnanakara, Prince Ugra, who was to be Ratnakara, and Prince Ratnakirti, who was to be Samanta Prabhasa. Thus the names appeared one by one up to Ushni Shalanka Riksha, who was to be the Buddha Ananta Guna Kirti, and the 2 youngest ones, the Prince Ananta Buddhi Kirti and Ananta Mati. The elder relatives and brothers said to the latter, What will there remain for thee to do after we have converted all the living beings and brought to accomplishment all the Buddhaic activity accomplishment? Thus scorned him, but he replied in return, the virtues of the Buddhas are as infinite as the skies, and as the number of living beings, such, I think, will never be exhausted. May I, by virtue of pure morality, be able to make my vows, yet all that are present listen to them. O King of Virtue, may I live long as will be the lives of all of you taken together, and fulfill the vows which you all are to observe. May the congregation of my disciple be as great in number as all your congregation taken together. Thus speaking, he, the youngest of the 1,000 princes, secured future Buddhahood under the name of Rochana, the desirous. He was to be called so because he wished a duration of life and a number of converts equal to that of the 999 Buddhas. Thereupon, the 1,000 princes asked the two infants, Dharmachetas and Dharmamati, of what kind would their vows. Dharmachetas, in return, made the following entreaty. May I become the bearer of the scepter of all of you, act in secret, prevent the exposition of all, that is to remain concealed as regards to Buddhas, and study, believe in, and fully apprehend all the exoteric and esoteric doctrines of the Buddhas. He was thus destined to become the Bodhisattva Vajrapani, the compiler of the scriptures for all the 1,000 Buddhas, and in the future eon called completely enlightened in the country named perfectly pure, the Buddha Vajra Vikrama. Dharmamati, in his turn, expressed his wish that he might exhort all the 1,000 Buddhas to teach their doctrines. He was accordingly to be Brahma, the crest bearer. As to the king Dhritarashtra, he was to become Buddha Dipankara, and thus 1,000 Buddhas were foretold to appear in the fourth eon, and those who maintain their number to be 1,002, and who say that Vajrapani is the same as Rochana are fools that deserve no belief. Now, for what reason is the eon called fortunate? The Mahakarunaka Pundarika says, at the time when the world was destroyed by a flood, 1,000 golden lotuses rose in the ocean. They were seen by gods, and who knew them to be an omen that 1,000 Buddhas will appear. Oh, this eon is a fortunate eon, said the gods, and from there came the name of our eon. And in the Jana Vaipulya Sutra, we read the name of the fortunate is given to that eon at the beginning of which 1,000 lotuses were to be seen. As to the rise of the 1,000 Buddhas, such takes place in a period of stability and at the time of regress from that age, then when human life lasts 80,000 years and ending with the age when it will be only 100 years, a time that preceding this period, there is no opportunity for the Buddha to appear, since among living beings, the aversion to this worldly existence is not great, and doctrine is not required for. After human age becomes reduced to 100 years, the Buddha likewise ceased to appear, because there follows a period of complete degeneration, characterized by following 5 features: diminishment of lifetime, deterioration of the character of living beings, predominance of passions, incorrect views, and low spirits. Neither are they to appear at the time of progress that is to follow. For all that is the sinful will cease to exist, and since all things will be in growth, no aversion toward worldly existence can take place. It is said accordingly. The Buddhas appear in a period of regress up to the time when human age is 100 years old. Now, all that has been said concern only the fortunate eon, but not all the eons in general. For the Karuna Pundarika tells us of the region of Augusta and the thumb size, where humans live only 10 years and are in size no larger than a thumb. This region, says the sutra, is presided over Buddha Jyotirama, whose size is that of 1 cubit and 7 fingers. We are likewise told of many Buddhas appearing in the times previous to the period when human life lasts 80,000 years. As concerned this age, we know that Karkuchanda appeared when human beings lived 40,000 years, Kanakamuni when human age endured 30,000 years, Kashyapa when it was 20,000, and Shakyamuni when it was reduced to 100. The future Buddha Maitreya will come when it will be again to be 80,000 years. The Bhadrakalpika Sutra indicates, with regard to each Buddha, his native country, caste, nim, father, mother, son, favorite, antecedent, two foremost disciples to whom the Buddha transferred his high wisdom and miraculous power, the circle of adherence, lifetime, duration of the doctrine, and finally the quantity of Buddha's relics. If the two foremost disciples were counted separately, there would be altogether 13 subjects. Some authorities count 14, adding the Buddha's descent. As to the circle of adherents, such is with some of the Buddha's caste, with others numerous. Relics are likewise different. With some they are abundant, with others they may be contained in a pill. If we take, for instance, our teacher, as he himself told to Uttara Maharaja, his birthplace was Kapilavastu, his caste that of Kshatriyas, his descent from Gautama, his nim a fathom of breadth, his father is called Shuddhodana, his mother Maya, his favorite attendant Ananda, his chief disciple, to whom he delivered his teachings of highest wisdom, Shariputra. The foremost of his disciples, endowed with miraculous powers, Moggallana. His congregation at the beginning numbered 1,250 monks. His life endured 100 years. His highest doctrine to exist 500 years, and for the next 500 only resemblance of it. As to our teacher relics, such are known to be abandoned. So at this point about how long the doctrine lasts is interesting. It says doctrine will exist 500 years, and then next 500 years only resemblance. Only resemblance means only in form, not ideal. Doctrine really stays in the world more than that. That's what the. Now, there may arise an objection as to human age being spoken of infinite at the time when the Buddha Rochana is to appear. There will be conflict in the statement that before fortunate human age in its regress has attained limits of 80,000 years, no Buddhas are to appear. That's right, but since this infinity of human age is the desire of a world, it is a thing inconceivable to our mind. Again, if 1,000 Buddhas are to be regarded as a definite number, this will disagree with the Ashtasarasika, where it is said that 1,000 ascetics will, during the 40 eon, attain supreme enlightenment. This is also true, but says the saint Vimuktisena. Although it is admitted that 1,000 Buddhas are to arise during 40 eon, this statement concerns only the foremost, and it does not mean that coming of the others denied. It is said in the Panchavimshita Sahasika Aloka that the definite number of 1,000 Buddhas given in order to make it known that a number of usually admitted as relating to the 40 eon, but those who are competent as regards the subject neither affirm nor deny the appearance of others. Again, it is admitted that after this world has undergone destruction, those that are to attain enlightenment become Buddhas. Otherwise, at the time of formation of new world, at such time as, for instance, when the Eon Mahadharana began, after the age called Dharana had passed away. Moreover, 1,000 or 1,005 Buddhas are mentioned with reference to 12 Buddhaic achievements directly exhibited by them, and as to other mentioning a greater number. Such statement concern in general all those who during the 40 eon attain Buddha enlightenment. Otherwise, the previous incarnation of a Buddha are likewise taken into consideration, such as a fortunate such as, for instance, that of our Lord when he was existing as a teacher of Brahma's son in the lifetimes of the Buddha Kashyapa, it will not, however, possible to draw from this the false conclusion that the doctrine may have two or more teachers, or for at that time when one Buddha is active, another, though he may likewise have already assumed the raw character of Buddha, does not preach his doctrine. Now it may be said, if it is maintained that previous to the four Buddhas, there were none in this eon, it will be contrary to the Kalachakra Tantra, where it said that the fortunate eon, 7 Buddha, Vipassana, etc., up to Shakyamuni have already appeared, and to the usual belief that Buddhas who have passed away are 7 in number. There is no mistake in this, since the 7 Buddhas are Buddhas that have arisen in the world, are now extinct. The Tantra itself view them from only such a standpoint. As to this instance of names, we may say indeed that in the different sutras, name of the Buddhas are not the same. That Ketu is sometimes called Pradotya and Rocha or Ruchi, but these are mere synonyms, and above all, differently translated. We need not, therefore, have doubt as concerns this subject. Okay, so now, rise of Shakyamuni Buddha in the world of endurance, Sahalokadhatu. Now, they call this name of our world Sahaloka. Sahaloka means very patient. Now, first of all, we must see for what reason this world is called Sahaloka Dhatu, Sahaloka. Saha means to endure, The word Saha is synonym of endurance, and this name has been given to the world in which we live because the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas that appear therein do not fall prey to the 3 sources of evil, causes of defilements, but endure hardships caused by them, and morally resist to the passions. It is said in the Karuna Pundarika, why is this world called the world of endurance? It is called so because living beings therein are enduring hardship caused by desire, hatred, and infatuation, and by all bonds of passions. In this world of endurance, a great eon called fortune is to come. Why is it to bear this name? Because during this, among living beings that indulge in lust, hatred, and infatuation, 1,000 fully account Buddhas endowed with great commiseration are to appear. Moreover, our world has its name of the world of endurance because the Bodhisattvas that act therein are endowed with the virtue of resistance or because the Buddhas appearing there are likewise characterized by it. It is said in the Manjushri Buddha Kshetra Guna Guhya, the followers of the Bodhisattva vehicle have performed acts of great devotion in regard to Buddhas of former ages, engendered the roots of virtue, worshipped many hundreds and thousands of Buddhas, were possessed with great endurance, self-discipline, and faith. They were abused, menaced, beaten, and wounded by all the living beings, but they patiently endured all these odds, however harsh they may have been, and did not fall prey to lust, hatred, and infatuation. O noble youth, this our world has got its name from those holy men and is called world of endurance. Similarly, this world has derived its name from the Buddhas who were endowed with the virtues just mentioned. As to the rise of our teacher in the world, we read in the Master Nagarjuna's salutation to the 10 monuments. I worship the Lord, the man's lion, who, having first made the creative effort for the attainment of supreme enlightenment, has amassed merit during 3 immeasurable periods of eons. B. And vanquished 4 mischief-doing demons. Accordingly, we have to distinguish the creative effort, the accumulation of merit, the attainment of Buddhahood, and taken into consideration with regard to each of these 3 points respectively, the Hinayanistic and Mahayanistic tradition. So talking about the concept of how when the Buddha appears the Hinayanistic Theravada and Mahayana tradition have different view. The initial vow, according to Hinayana, according to Theravada, in olden times there lived a king named Prasenna Kirti, who made one of the attendants skillful in the art of taming elephants, the keeper and tamer of royal elephants. The keeper, and having completed the task of taming one of the elephants, made it known to the king, and later ordered him to bring animal to him. When the elephant was brought, the king mounted, intending to go for a ride, but the beast, having smelled the scent of female elephant, which aroused its passion, ran headlong through the woods and valleys, and there was no possibility to stop it. King, terrified, asked the keeper what to do, and the keeper told him to snatch the branches of a tree. King did so, fell down, and fainted. After the keeper had made him recover from his swoon, the king, enraged, said that he, the keeper, since he had boasted with taming the elephant, when this was not really the case, was to be punished with prison. But the keeper said, I have tamed the elephant's body, but it is impossible for me to do the same with its mind. What proof can thou give that thou hast tamed his body? Asked the king in return. In a week after the elephants come back, replied the keeper, you shall see. After 7 days passed, the elephant returned, and the keeper, having made an iron hammer red hot, placed it before the beast, saying, Eat it, eat it. The beast, notwithstanding the terrible pain, began to eat. And this the keeper showed to the king and said, I have not been able to subdue the elephant's mind. King believed, and having from this example come to insight that he must subdue his own mind, made his initial vow and uttered the following entreaty. May I, by virtue of my charity, be reborn in the Shakya clan, attain the state of the Buddha that will harmonize with my future merits, family, and descent, and convey great peace, deliverance from fear, and salvation, and all living beings, including Brahma, who are stricken with the distress. The accumulation merit according to the Theravada. From that time up to the age of Buddha Rastrapala, our master worshipped 75,000 Buddhas and accumulated merit during immeasurable eons, thus bringing to accomplishment the first period, as is said in the scripture. And from the time of Buddha Shakyamuni up to the age of Rastrapala, I have worshipped 75,000 Buddhas. And then beginning with the Buddha Saddukara and up to the Indra Dwaja, our master worshipped 76,000 Buddhas more, thus completing the second period as follows. I worship the number of 76,000 Buddhas, beginning with the Saddukara and up to the sage Indra Dwaja. Thereafter, from the time of Dipankara and up to Kashyapa, he worshipped 77,000 other Buddhas and terminated the third period, as it is said in scripture. From the age of Dipankara and up to Buddha Kashyapa, I have worshipped the full number of 77,000 Buddhas, and the Abhidharma Kosha says that the first period of eons ends with the Buddha Ratnashiyan, and second Buddha Dipankara, third with Vipashayan, as follows. Vipashayan, Dipankara, Ratnashikin appeared each of them at the end of each of 3 periods of eons, and the first, the Buddha who received the homage to our teacher is Shakyamuni Buddha. Thereupon, during 100 great eons, the master brought to accomplishment all the features of attaining the sublime character of Bodhisattva. From that time uninterrupted, abided as such. Then, during the remaining 100 eons, he circumambulated the Buddha Naksharta Raja for 7 days, all the while chanting a verse. By this energy accumulate the merit, usually attaining in the period of 9 great eons, and up to the same time when the other 91 eons pass away, he was reborn at the age of Buddha Kashyapa, and the teacher of Brahmana's son, brought to accomplishment all the factors for attaining Buddhahood. Finally, he was born as a Shwetaketu, and after that came the performance of the 12 achievements of Buddha, as we know, detailed in scriptures, and particularly from the Abhinishkramana Sutra, as to special tradition of the Theravada, such as follows. The teacher and the solitary Prateka Buddhas have, on the basis of higher degree of mystic absorption, attained all the virtues up to enlightenment. Accordingly, the Buddha, having accumulated merit equal to that attained by ordinary worldlings during 3 immeasurable eons, has in the evening vanquished the 4 demons. Then, at midnight, having taken recourse to the 4 stages of mystic meditation, he acquired all the virtues up to those attained on the path of training. And finally, in the morning, from daybreak till sunrise, he has one moment brought to accomplishment all the 6 transcendental virtues as such. Buddha, guided by mercy toward living beings, has by these gifts completed the transcendental virtues of charity. By freeing himself from the numbers of the causal nexus connected with the passions, the virtues of unflinching patience and pure morality, by prizing Nakshatra Raja, the virtue of energy, and immediately after those of trance and highest wisdom. The attainment of Buddhahood according to Hinayana. Thus he attained the 6 transcendental virtues, became a Buddha, possessed of the spiritual and physical body, characterizing such, revealed his doctrine to his disciple, Anjana Kondinya, etc., up to Bhadrika, and then pass away into Nirvana. As regard to Mahayana tradition concerning Buddha, we distinguish the creative effort for enlightenment, accumulation merit during 3 uncountable eons, and the victory over 4 maras and the attainment of Buddhahood. So we'll discuss these 3 first. The creative effort according to Mahayana. Here we have to consider 5 points. The character of creative effort, its cause, 2, 3, its merit, 4, its varieties, and 5th, the difference between traditions concerning Buddha's first creative effort. First is the character of creative effort. We read in Sutra Alankara, great by its energy, creative effort means why in the Mahayana they talk about 7 special qualities. We read in the Sutra, great by its energy, great by its achievement, 2, great by its aim, 3, great by its result, 5, is the thought of bodhisattvas, the manifestation of their spirit directed towards the double aim of human activity. Thus, the creative effort may be defined as a manifestation of spirit of bodhisattva, which endowed with the due associate, experience, and active energy, has for its result the fulfillment of one's own and that of others, and is founded upon altruism and desire for enlightenment. And the Abhisamaya says, the creative effort is a desire of supreme enlightenment in pursuit of the welfare of others. It is exposed briefly and in detail in harmony with sutras. Ratnakara Shanti and his commentary Shuddhimati has, the creative effort has to be defined as the desire of supreme enlightenment based upon altruism. The cause of the creative effort. The Bodhisattva Bhumi mentions 4 causes, 4 conditions, 4 forces through which the creative effort is produced, and Sutra Alankara we read, the creative effort that is originated by foreign influences, by the grace of the teacher, by the efficiency of the cause, adherence to Mahayanistic family, by the agency of the roots of virtue that are caused by thrive, through study and practice of virtue, manifests itself as powerful or feeble form. Such are the causes of the creative effort at relating to empirical reality. As to the factors that refer to the absolute reality, we read as follows. If the Supreme Buddha has been duly worshipped, for the accumulation of virtue and wisdom fully accomplished, then the creative effort is regarded as relating to the absolute reality, since it produces unflinching true knowledge as regards all elements of existence. In short, we have the seed of great commiseration having first been aroused to life, by the efficiency of Maya and its spiritual family, the creative effort for enlightenment as a result of a complement to sublime thoughts and deeds is made. The result of creative effort. The direct result of creative effort is a miracle, and the intermediate is attainment of that supernatural power of the mind through which one, and if possessed of a wish-fulfilling gem, may cause all the desired object to come down like rain, and final is Buddhahood and the like, all of which is inconceivable as to our mind. The Viradatta Paripricha says, if all the merits making the creative effort could assume a feeble form, they would fill the regions of the sky and even extend beyond them. The varieties of creative effort. From the standpoint of essential character, the creative effort has to be viewed, 1, the vow, and 2, the action according to it, if regard from the point of view of its rough and more subtle character. It may be 1, conventional produced by a foreign agency, 2, the absolute. As concerns the different stages of enlightenment, the creative effort manifests itself in 4 ways, as Sutra Alankara says. The creative effort is on the different stages characterized by faith and the purest and best intention of maturity and the absence of all obscurations. Further on, as regard to the associate and that with which it may be compared, creative effort is considered to have 22 forms, as we read in the Abhisamaya Alankara. Creative effort refers to creative effort means a generation of bodhicitta. This is the wording is little sometimes difficult to follow because Obermiller uses the creative effort, which means generation bodhicitta. So here says, generation bodhicitta considered to have 22 forms, as we read them Abhisamaya Alankara. It is like the earth, like gold, like moon or fire, etc. And the Sutra Alankara, the creative effort is regarded as resembling the earth and etc. The Niryanaya Sangraha mentions in its turn 10 varieties, such as the creative effort is of the 10 kinds: conventional, the absolute, uncertain, sure, not perfectly pure, feeble, powerful, with incomplete result and complete result. The conventional creative effort means conventional bodhicitta, generation bodhicitta, is characterizing all the bodhisattvas who are not to be able to act by themselves surely and infallibly. The absolute is made by those that act correctly and without mistakes, and by the Shravakas that have devoted themselves to supreme enlightenment. Creative effort may be regarded as uncertain when it is made by those who do not belong to the Mahayanistic family and such members of it who may relapse into sin. It is sure it is made by such who are known by characteristics reverse to those just mentioned. It is not completely pure. It's explaining those 10 points. It is not completely pure, the 5th one, when made out of desire of imitating others, from fear of worldly power, rapine, judgment, of being drowned in the river and similar calamities, or out of self-conceit and without consideration and accurate analysis, for the sake of prolonging one's life, obtaining gain and renown, and in order to be praised and spoken of. So they're talking about not pure. The creative effort made out of such and similar motives cannot be regarded as completely pure. Creative effort is feeble if the bodhisattva, after having made it, fall prey to desire, hatred, and infatuation, and empowered by those three sources of evil, are able to act correctly and commit errors. The creative effort, the consequences of which are reverse to these, to the contrary, to be considered as powerful. The result is the creative effort is incomplete with those who are on the different stages of bodhisattva perfection, beginning with the 4th stage of faith and up to the 10th stage. The full result is attained after the bodhisattva have become Buddha, as the Lord himself says, after I have finished this practice of asceticism, I attain enlightenment according to my sublime vows. The different traditions as to the Buddha's creative effort. In the Karuna Pundarika, it is said that the first creative effort was made by the Brahmana Samudra Renu. In the Bhadrakalpika Sutra, we read, in former times, when I was in an inferior state of existence, I, having sacrificed to the Buddha Shakyamuni, made my first creative effort for enlightenment. The tradition of Anukampa Pratikarana Sutra is as follows. Our teacher in the time of his previous existence was once, through the influence of his former deeds, reborn in the infernal region of the red-hot iron as an athlete who had drew a heavy vehicle. As his companion, feeble in strength, were constantly beaten by the ward that surveyed them, Buddha became full of great commiseration and made his creative effort, means generation bodhicitta, for enlightenment in order to help the suffering of living beings. After that, he said to the keeper, "Be thou a little more merciful toward these unfortunate beings." The keeper, enraged, struck him with his trident, and Buddha, dying, was delivered from the infernal existence as the drawer of the fiery vehicle, and became purged from the guilt of sin previously committed by him during 8 eons. According to the Triskandadaga, this is talking about the Sutra of Three Hips, I think. Sutra of Three Hips. The teacher, while he was abiding in the form of Abhidanda, the son of the merchant, made his first creative effort in the presence of the Buddha Mahasundara. And still another tradition says that the teacher, when he was existing as a potter's son named Abhakara, presented a good Buddha Shakyamuni with a vase of porcelain, 5 cowries, pair of boots, and a parasol, and made the following entreaty. O Buddha, may I become just like thee, by corporeal resemblance and by the number of disciples, by duration of life, native country, and by high name thou bearest. Thus spoke he and made his vows. Accumulation merit according to Mahayana. Here we distinguish the character of accumulation merit, A. B. The period of time during which he brought about. 3. The way in which he was completed by a Buddha. The first, the character of accumulation. The accumulation merit is to be viewed from the beginning 8 points. Essence, 1 essence, 2 connection with the 6 perfections, 4, 3 etymology, the word sambara. This is part of accumulation, its appellation of Sanskrit. D, action, D means 4. 5, modes. 6, result. 7, a sphere of activity. And 8, a great different subject with which accumulation may be identified. So now, essence definition of what accumulation, sambara is, part of accumulation. We read in the Sutra Alankara, the accumulation merit of bodhisattva, consisting of virtue and transcendental wisdom, is incomparable. The first virtue leads to bliss during this worldly life, and second, transcendental wisdom conveys an existence free from defilements. Accordingly, we may define accumulation as virtue influence and uninfluenced by passion, which is the cause of blissful existence in the samsara and of the super bliss of salvation, the liberation. The connection of accumulation of merit with the 6 transcendental virtues, means 6 paramitas. It is said, charity and morals from the accumulation virtue, and higher knowledge, that of transcendental wisdom. The other forms, patience, energy, concentration, represent the accumulation both. And the first 5, moreover, that of the transcendental wisdom likewise. Sutra Alankara says the etymology of what path of accumulation or sambhara means. Sutra Alankara says, an amassing again and again, because the accumulation, amassing again and again of virtue, practice uninterruptedly and leading to concentration of mind. Such is sambhara, path of accumulation merit of the Bodhisattva. Accordingly, in the word sambhara, which is the Sanskrit name for accumulation, sam means samatena, samtana netena, and samatya, uninterruptedly. Ba stands for bhavana, concentration, and ra for ahara, amassing again and again. Consequently, the accumulation merit is called sambhara, since it is repeated practice of virtue that goes on uninterruptedly and leads to concentration of mind. That's why much of the path of accumulation practice requires you to do at least 100,000 times. So that you have to repeat the meritorious activities unimpeded. So that's why you have to do it many, many times, 100,000 times. 100,000 times. Again, repeated practice of virtue goes on uninterruptedly. So that's the etymology of path of sambhara, accumulation. Now the function of the sambhara is, same text, Abhisamaya Alankara, Sutra Alankara says, accumulation merit of the powerful ones leads to the fulfillment of all of their projects. So that's the function. Next is the modes of accumulation. We read further on. The accumulated merits is made by the powerful ones for the sake of entering upon the stages of enlightenment, rising up to the stages of non-differentiation, attaining impassibility, receiving the consecration of Buddhahood, and ultimately for reaching the final goal. Thus, the accumulation merit appears in diverse forms, in harmony with the different stages of Bodhisattva, such as the preliminary stage of the faith, the first 6 stages of the 7th stage, 8th stage, 9th stage, and 10th stage. The different degrees of accumulated merit on each of these stages respectively lead to the entrance upon the 10 main gates of the Bodhisattva, the full monistic conception and cessation of all differentiation. On the 7th stage, complete impassibility. On the 8th, the consecration of Buddhahood. And the 10th, the attainment of the final result, nirvana, when one is nearly already a Buddha. So that's the modes of accumulation. Generally, they talk in the mind that the modes of accumulation has beginners accumulation, mediocre accumulation, and advanced. And each of them has 3 subdivisions: beginners, middle, beginners, advanced, and same goes with the other 2. So it's talking about the modes of that. But here, Buton talks a little bit more ancient kind of concept. The result of accumulation, it is said in Ratnavali by Nagarjuna, the physical form of the Buddha is the result of accumulation of virtue. And to his spiritual body, O king, such, to speak briefly, is a product of accumulation of transcendental wisdom. And in the Yukti Shastika says, the Master Nagarjuna says, may I attain the true sublime forms. These sublime forms refer to Rupakaya and Dharmakaya, which are the result of virtue and transcendental wisdom. Yeah, exactly. But because virtue is a merit, Rupakaya, transcendental wisdom is the wisdom. So that's why Dharmakaya. Accordingly, the result viewed from the standpoint of a principal cause may plainly be characterized as follows. It is the attainment of true forms of Buddha as the consequence of 2 kinds of accumulation. And this is exactly, when we practice, we always require, each sadhana has a part, at the very beginning, is accumulation of merit, and then accumulation of wisdom. Accumulation of merit is characterized by paying homage, making offerings, doing confession, and rejoicing the merits, and asking the Buddhas to turn the wheel of Dharma, requesting them to live long, dedication merits. When you do these 7 heaps, in every practice, you will find every small sadhana to full ritual, full day. They all have this backbone. So following that, being able to believe in these without being wearied and tired, that is the merit. Most people don't have merit to do more than once or twice, and then after that they don't feel like repeating. Like there is accumulation merit to do in front of the front-generated one, and then there's accumulation merit when you are self-generated one. Then there's accumulation merit in relation to the vast-generated ones. So all of these things need to be repeated, You never become perfect in even a worldly task. You have to attend the damn university course for 4 years. So many times you have to repeat again and again. So like that, we have to have the endurance, to cultivate the merit. What are the sphere of the accumulation of merit is, the sphere of activity accumulating merit of virtue is empirical reality, or a world as it seems, and that of accumulation of transcendental wisdom. So that's the sphere. Sphere means domain. Absolute reality, or the world as it is. And then accumulation merit from different point of view. Okay, we distinguish here 12 forms. 12 forms. These are very technical, but very, very, very important to understand. According to Mahayanistic theory, the accumulation merit manifests itself as the means of attaining bodhisattva perfection and Buddhahood and high analytical wisdom. The latter puts an end to the conception of plurality, and the former brings together all the roots of virtue. It is said in the Gaya Shrisha Sutra, the means of is knowledge as regard the amassing of the roots of virtue, the highest wisdom, discriminated knowledge containing the analysis of existence. Of these two, highest wisdom is founded upon the relative and present the full notion of it. As to means, such a fulfillment of all the projects of living beings out of commiseration, as it is said, attainment of enlightenment is with some base upon relativity, endowed with the essence of great commiseration. 2. All the virtuous qualities are comprised in the 6 transcendental virtues, through the practice which teaching of Buddha is fully realized, as we read in the Sutra Alankara. All the pure qualities are to be viewed as distracted, concentrated, and mixed. They are respectively comprised in each pair of transcendental virtues. The absence of inclination of objects of worldly enjoyment, strict observation of rules of discipline, absence of lassitude in regard to 2 points, and meditation free from distracted thoughts. This is the whole of the great vehicle taken in short. The great vehicle is thus demonstrated as contained in the 6 transcendental virtues. Now, it may be asked, do not the 6 transcendental likewise exist with the Shravakas and Prateka Buddhas? No. We read in the commentary on the Mahayana Sangraha, with the solitary Prateka Buddhas, the 6 transcendental do not exist even by name. Only Buddha, our Lord, abides in the summit of these virtues. But may it be said, Sravaka code, we have the 6 virtues, and all that relates to the conduct of the Bodhisattva clearly demonstrated. To these we answer, they are only briefly indicated. As to their full analysis, such is nowhere to be found in Hinayanic scripture. Ratnavali says, the vow that characterizes a Bodhisattva and precepts for devoting oneself to the practice of their virtues are not treated in the Sravaka vehicles. How is it then possible for an adherent to become Bodhisattva? And the Sutra Alankara, the teaching of the Sravaka being incomplete, contradictory, affordable according to no sure means, and unable to give the due instructions, is not that which may be called doctrine of the great vehicle. 3. The accumulation merit has various degrees corresponding to the stages of the Bodhisattva's perfection. We read in Ratnavali, just as the vehicle of Shravakas mentioned 8 stages of perfection attained by its saints. These are the Arhats, yeah? 4 entries and 4 abidings, yeah? Stream entry, once returner, non-returner, and Arhathood. Each of them has entry one and then abider. So those are the 8 stages of the Pratyeka Buddhas. In the same way, in the great vehicle in Mahayana has 10 stages of enlightenment for the Bodhisattva. And Trisharana Sapti says, just as the complete wisdom of Hinayanistic saint is preceded by 7 preliminary stages, in the same way, divine doctrine, divine wisdom of fully accomplished Buddha has 10 stages that go before it. The stages of Sravaka perfection accordingly as follows. Stages of pure vision, stages of entering the Sravaka family, stages of entering the stream, stages of illumination, stages of refinement, stages of deliverance from passion, stages of full exposition of the truth, and stages of a Pratyeka Buddhahood. Similarly, the grey vehicle has its own 10 stages, that of the joy, these are the 10 bhumis, and the rest, and which are in accordance with the 10 transcendental virtues, respectively. These are the principal stages, but by entering those, they are subservient to them. Bodhisattvas, when he is still a worldling, likewise become purified, as is said. These 10 are chief stages, but the ordinary man that abides in the stage of devotion, etc., means most of the time we are on the stages of not losing our devotion. We are just mainly maintained by our devotion. So therefore we are aspirant bodhisattva. We are not yet 10th stage, first stage or second, on the path of accumulation. There is the person who's aspiring the bodhisattva, bodhicitta, is called aspirant. Yeah? So that's why by his faith, we are just kept alive by our devotion. So not to lose devotion in Dharma and the bodhicitta is most important sign that we are still registered. Here we have accordingly the stage of devotion attained by path of accumulation merit, and further on he attains the chief stages, must first abide on the faith, that of the faith. The faith. So with faith is very important. People think that they can practice Buddhism without faith. I don't know what they're talking about. They can surely study philosophically as an onlooker, as a scientist, but once they have only used a rational mind, always checking, always critically, always skepticism, no faith, they haven't entered the refuge even. One who has refuge in the Triple Gem is maintained by the faith. So those who have the faith, you should really rejoice. Faith is so hard to obtain. Why? Because doubt is such an impeding obstacle. People talk of benefit of doubt, but I don't see much in the progress of the path of the Dharma. This is how many people slide off the path very quickly because they think they're too smart to examine this endlessly. They waste whole short life in examining everything, as if they themselves are immaculate or something. So we need to grow up to be boosted by our faith. In the little we know it's good only if our practice supports it. If our practice lacks, then what is there to hold on to? Unless there's a ring of faith, there is no hook of progress that will pull you up. So this is very, very important because there's lots of people these days, Buddhism is all about checking, examining, whole life checking, examining. Then you just slide off the path and never find your way in because you've been hijacked by your delusion, the doubt. Doubt is one of the 6 wrong views, doubt that hasn't got the benefit of finding the faith. According to this passage, the stage of faith lasts till the end of the path of training. Path of training is a path of accumulation, path of application. So you have to continue to have faith. Faith in, for instance, teaching on the four foundation mindfulness. The body is impure, feelings are impermanent, thoughts are mirage-like, and there is no self. If you have faith in these and no doubt about these four, then you are safe. Because your faith is in the teaching, not in tradition or school or people or institutions or some name and reputation of some person or group stays high, you tend to follow them. If not, you fall off like ants. That's not faith. That's not faith. That's just worshipping cult-like figures. Faith in the four foundation of mindfulness. If you believe in the teachings, the Buddha said, all conditioned things are impermanent, and therefore your feelings are transient, and you should meditate on the impermanence of all feelings and never become drowned in any of them, even pleasant ones you don't get attached to, even, of course, difficult ones, however difficult one, you should believe these too will change. And whatever you're desiring, including your body, your status, or someone, they are impure, they're unsatisfactory, so do not desire undesirable one and then think you've been disappointed by the object undesirable. Undesirable will be always unsatisfied anyway. So what's the point of investing in a cause that got nothing to support you? So the faith is like eye. Faith is one of the eyes of wisdom. If you don't have eye, you're blind indeed. So therefore, don't think that rational, endless examination is Buddhism. Don't try to lump Buddhism with science in a very, very unholistic way. Buddhism definitely recommends analysis, but not endlessly devoid of any faith. So devotion holds us together on the beginning, doing hundreds of thousands times repeatedly, have no doubt and losing faith over that. Because you believe in the teachings that all forms, all feelings, all form aggregates like foam. All feeling aggregates is like bubbles. All perception aggregate are like mirage. These are the teachings. These are the teachings we need to have faith and devotion, how true they are, how because of that we are able to detach from feelings to that, because we have faith that all feelings are bubbles. Buddha have said that, we need to check that. So the path of stage of faith lasts until the end of path of training. This means path of preparation, or path of training preparation is translated as here training, or path of preparation, path of application, so all these things. Moreover, Bodhisattva Bhumi, this Bodhisattva Bhumi is by Asanga, mentions 7 other stages, Stage of entering the family, stage of faith, stage of purest and best intention, stage of assurance, stage of activity, stage of pure action, and stage of attainment of final result. 4. The accumulation merit view from the standpoint of 4 methods of propaganda is characterized by Sutra Alankara as follows. Of the 4 methods of propaganda, 4 methods of propaganda means, in addition to 6 paramitas, 4 methods of persuasion or attracting others into Dharma. So this is why Obermiller translated propaganda because he comes from Soviet Union. Propaganda. It actually means path of persuasion or path of attracting people to the Dharma. What are the 4?
charity, which is generosity. Generosity is equal to the transcendental virtue of that name, and the fine, pleasant speech, favorable acts, and common interest. So you need to use kind, gentle, loving, soft, agreeable speech to others. Propaganda means you have to use that kind language, diplomatic language. Such a to be viewed as teaching of the transcendental virtues. Incitation of others to practice such. Incitation means you are trying to do things for them by you, and skillfully just getting yourself out of your way, for instance, but just to do things for them, inciting them skillfully and make them to do the things later on by the skillful example. The fourth one is in the conformity of one's own acts, means you should do things that actually confirms that it is agreeable to the other's liking. Maybe you wouldn't do otherwise. Maybe you wouldn't go jogging, or maybe you wouldn't do swimming. But you go swimming with the fella for a little while in order to make them befriended and win your heart, so to speak. That therefore, Bodhisattva have to sometimes do that he wouldn't do even by his vows. But he has to do in order to tame the others. There are quite a lot of issues about some certain figures in the Tibetan teachers who are very famous in the West and became very influential, like Trungpa. And he went out of his normal teacher's way, but he totally became sort of acting like his crowds who he was following. He was drinking and so on, just like his friends. And later on, through his skillful way to be with them, many of them, thousands, we are talking not just one or two, thousands of them were skillfully brought to Dharma. That kind of activity is often not understood by other people because they don't know the intention of a bodhisattva. Bodhisattvas mainly work on his intention, not on outer behavior. He is to attract the approval of many. So it's talking about that here. Accordingly, the four methods of propaganda are charity that harmonizes with corresponding transcendental virtue, sweet and pleasant speech, by means of which teaching of the six transcendental virtues is communicated to others, fulfillment of projects of others by inducing them to practice the virtues and common interests, and by being oneself devoted to this practice. 5. The accumulation merit regarded as the starting point of four methods action is, as says the Sutra Alankara, the activity of the powerful ones manifests itself, according to the Sutra, in four ways. With regard to living beings that are devoted to the great vehicle, to those who found their belief in the small ones, and on behalf of adherents of both vehicles, and for sake of discipline to arouse energy of the converts. Thus, for those who are followers of the great vehicle of the Bodhisattva, act on the basis of transcendental virtue, their actions being characterized by the essence of those 10 virtues. In regard to the adherents of the small vehicle, their activities is founded upon the characteristic features of enlightenment, 37 in number. With reference to those who found their way belief in both vehicles, in order to arouse forcibly the zeal of such persons, bodhisattvas have in their action resource to supernatural perception, of which there are 6 forms. And in order to lead to spiritual maturity, the converts that adhere to the 3 vehicles, they act so as to bring all living beings to this maturity by the aid of innumerable experience. Such are the 4 ways of action, according to Ratnachuda Sutra, and the Bodhisattva Bhumi says, all the activity of Bodhisattva is to be regarded as comprised of the 4 methods of action. 6. As to the coordination of accumulation merit with 80 imperishable things we read in the Shuddhimati, the creative efforts, sublime thoughts, deeds, the 5 the best intention, 6 transcendental virtues, the 4 immeasurable feelings, the 5 forms of supernatural perception, 4 methods of propaganda, 4 methods of correct discrimination, and the reliance, points of reliance, and the 2 accumulation, characteristic of enlightenment, concentration, etc., power, memory, and so on. The 4 main aphorism, uniform concentration of bodhisattva, and their skill in experience. Thus we have, in creative effort, the sublime thoughts, the activity, best intention, and then 6 transcendental virtues, 4 immeasurable feelings, 5 forms of supernatural powers, 4 methods of propaganda. This is listing the 80 virtues, 80 virtues. The four methods of correct discrimination, as reliance upon the elements of existence and not upon the personality, and reliance upon the meaning and not upon the words, reliance upon the direct meaning and not upon the conventional, reliance upon the transcendental wisdom and not upon the ordinary human knowledge. So this is talking about 4 reliance, particularly reliance upon the elements of existence and not upon the personality. This means rely on the Dharma, not on the person. This is very important. So when people rely on the person, not on the Dharma, then they think people's conduct has ruined them. But those people who knew that Trungpa's style is not the thing, but his teaching, when they rely on the Dharma, they didn't lose faith in him. It's not, his character is one thing. Dharma that he taught become much more weighty thing for to hold on to, because they rely on the elements of the Dharma, not on the personality of the person. You see, these are the 4 reliance is included in the 80. That's from 28 to 31. Then 2 accumulations, and the 37 characteristics of enlightenment. That's the 34 to 70. Concentration and transcendental knowledge. That's 71 and 72. Power of memory and readiness of wit. 73 and 4. 4 aphorism of the doctrine. What are the 4? All active elements are impermanent. So it means all conditioned things are impermanent. It's really good to remember that. All elements influenced by defiling agency are and have mere phenomenal existence. So these are unsatisfactory. All elements whatsoever impersonal, meaning all things are there's no self. Entry to nirvana is real quiescence. That's the number 78. The uniform concentration of bodhisattva, 79. Their skill in experience, at the number 80. These 80 subjects are mentioned in the Akshayamati Nirdesha Sutra, and the Munimata Kalankara Sutra says that all the Mahayanic path is contained in these 80 attributes. 7. As to the varieties of accumulation merit, viewed from the standpoint of 22 forms of bodhicitta, we read in the Abhisamaya Alankara, the creative effort has the bodhicitta has 22 forms. Since it may be like the earth, 1, like gold, 2, the moon, 3, fire, 4, like the treasury, 5, jewel, 6, and like so on, and like the ocean, like a diamond, like a mountain, a remedy, the teacher. Remedies are like usually like a medicine, like the wish-fulfilling gem, like the sun, like the song, like a king, like a jewelry, like a road, the vehicle, the fountain, pleasant sound, river, and the cloud. All of these 22 analogies are the analogies for that varieties of analogy. Here they talk varieties. The variety doesn't mean varieties as in relative and ultimate bodhicitta. All of these 22 are analogies. And each of these 22 analogies not only divided between the relative and ultimate bodhicitta, but they are divided between the relative bodhicitta, ultimate bodhicitta, 6 transcendental, 6 perfection, and so on. As to the subject meant by example, Saint Vimuktisena and the teacher Haribhadra considered them to be associate, connected with creative effort, namely zeal, sublime thoughts, actively 10 transcendental virtues, and the true accumulation merit, 37 characteristic features of enlightenment, commiseration, transcendental knowledge, power of memory, readiness of the wit, triumph of the doctrine, uniform concentration of bodhisattva, and cosmical body of the Buddha. Vasubandhu's commentary on Sutra Lankara and Shuddhimati and Munimatta Lankara enumerate instead all the 80 imperishable subjects, the 6 transcendental virtues, etc., in accordance with each of the examples, and place them in the due successive order. These 22 forms of creative effort, which bodhicitta, comprise, according to the opinion of the teacher Haribhadra and Abhayakaragupta, the Mahayanistic path and result. Others, in their turn, consider that they include only on the path of discipline. 8. Accumulation merit has likewise various forms corresponding to 4 methods of intuition, which are as follows: the thorough knowledge of all the forms of 3 kinds of wisdom and their respective objects, culmination of the process of illumination, the progressive process of illumination, and final, the momentary intuition. It is said accordingly, the course of perfection is endowed with the essence of 4 methods of intuition. Otherwise, various forms of accumulation harmonize the 4 actions, that of outfit, access, accumulation, proper, and issue. So these terms are very complex because Obermiller used all these terms as a pioneer in the translation, which now has completely changed. There's more established kind of standardized forms of terminology for this. So that's why this translation begs a revision. 9. In harmony with the teaching that is common to all vehicles, accumulated merit differs in regard to the 4 paths, which are path of accumulating merit proper, path of training, this is path of preparation, path of illumination, he calls it, path of seeing, path of concentration is path of meditation. As to the final path, which is path for normal learning, such being identical to the result is not taken into consideration. The first 2, path of accumulation and path of training, path of application, represent the practice of virtue that is founded upon faith in the absolute truth, but not upon direct perception of the latter. They are therefore only preliminary stages of the path. So these first two paths, according to normal, it's a still worldly level. So you haven't yet reached the path of seeing. Yeah. On the contrary, path of illumination, which is path of seeing, and that of transcendental concentration are characteristic by full intuition of the truth, which is directly perceived by the saints. So that's the path of seeing. Consequently, the first 2 being still influenced by passion, because people still on the path of accumulation, particularly even those who are really advanced path of accumulation, as well as path of preparation, they still have passion. They still have desire. It's just question is how much they are succeeding to suppress by whatever conventions, through the techniques. They have not eradicated them all. You never eradicate all of them. Even on the path of seeing, you only eradicate the gross ones. So therefore, it's important not to idolize anyone, fellow Dharma brothers or sisters. Maybe you think they are senior or they have titles or something. They still are on the path of accumulation as much as you are. It's just degree of how skillful they are to suppress them. They cannot uproot them because it's beyond their depth and ability. It takes great merit and wisdom. Because then we will be much kinder to fellow practitioners when they are faltering due to their karma, because we know it is not their fault. It is the weight of the karma from so many eons in the accumulating. It's as if they're disregarding or they're deliberately doing to hurt you and me, and that kind of childish stuff is just idealistic, impatient, people who have no depth and vision of the Dharma, and then use the goad to judge each other, use to them club each other as being not proper or not that. That kind of way shows people really don't know the path and the teachings. It says here, it's a person, first two being still influenced by passion, based upon the knowledge of empirical reality, are but subservient degrees and not to the truth of path proper. Now, if this is so, how is it when then said in Nirnaya Sangraha, of what kind of truth of the path? Answer, that which presents path of accumulating merit, that which is called path of training, that which we know is path of complete purification. All this taken together from the truth of the path, and in the Abhidharma Samuchaya we read that all the 5 subdivisions of the path present to the path, truth of that name. There is no mistake in this. For the first 2 paths are viewed as subservient to the path proper, as stages that aid in its realization. It is said to be Abhidharma Samuchaya Bhashya. Speaking of the fivefold, author of the Abhidharma Samuchaya has the view of the 5 different stages of the path. They're the truth of the path proper and the subservient degrees. The path of accumulation and path of preparation are thus regarded as preliminary. So that's why people always have to focus on the preliminary practice, not eyeing on some absolute Dzogchen, Mahamudra, all these things. It's just people wanted to be the giraffe, to pick the fruit on the top of a tree without working anything on the stages. Path of accumulation and path of preliminary preparation are thus regarded as a preliminary. Moreover, Nirnaya Sangraha says there are such elements which, in spite of their relation to the world as such, which put an end to the thirst for repeated births, being antidote against it, enter the path for passing out of the world. Why are these elements nevertheless counted amongst those relating to the truth of origin of phenomena existence? Answer, the elements spoken of are indeed by their nature antidote against thirst for repeated births. Still, since they are connected with actions, however, virtues of body, speech, and mind, which 3 are all subject to rebirth, and said elements must be regarded as relating to the origin or truth of origin. Some authorities say the path of accumulation and path of preparation are, as regard their essential character, uninfluenced by passion, and therefore belong to the path proper. This is not right. It is said in the Nirnaya Sangraha, by means of analytical wisdom, which is a result of study and investigation, the Bodhisattva exerts himself on the 4 acts of intense mindfulness. This kind of knowledge relates to the empirical reality, and notwithstanding its virtuous character, is influenced by passions. On the basis of this knowledge, the Bodhisattva practices meditation, through which he becomes prepared for the 4 degrees conducive to illumination. That which conducive to illumination is the path of preparation, and is keen upon acts like intense mindfulness connected with a form of meditation. This is like empirical knowledge, virtuous, but still influenced by passion. Then on the basis of said knowledge, the Bodhisattva manifests his energy in regard to the 4 acts of mindfulness. So it's the 4 acts of mindfulness, 4 foundation mind, connected with the 4 degrees conducive to illumination, through which he is prepared for the path of illumination. However, this form of knowledge too is empirical and inspired the virtuous quality influenced by passion. Finally, having such a basis for further activity, Bodhisattva attain highest virtues of a worldly being, which degree is influenced in the unobstructed path, leading direct to the path of illumination and direct perception of truth. But even this wisdom of Bodhisattva is based upon empirical reality, and its virtues still bear in stains of passions. Just a little bit more. The 10 path of accumulation may be likewise viewed from the standpoint of 3 disciplines, which are moral discipline, mental discipline, and the training of the highest wisdom. This is the Tripitaka, the Vinaya, Abhidharma, and Prajnaparamita, wisdom. We read in Sutra Alankara, teaching of the 6 transcendental virtues has been preached by the Buddhas in regard to the 3 disciplines. The first of these disciplines correspond to the first 3 transcendental virtues. The first 3 transcendental virtues. So it means the discipline belongs to generosity, self-discipline, and patience. Last 2 transcendental virtues connect with the 2 of the 2 disciplines. So these are the last 2 are the joyous effort and the meditation. And the 1 transcendental wisdom relate to 3 disciplines. This is, of course, wisdom. We may further on distinguish the 3 forms of virtue, namely the charity, morals, and high wisdom. The first of these is identical with transcendental virtue of charity. Second, with that of morals, and third includes patience, energy, concentration, and the climax of wisdom. Finally, we may view the accumulation merit as 7 a subdivision of the path through the Bodhisattva, or as the 37 characteristic features of enlightenment in the successive order. In such a way, it is possible to explain the whole of Buddha's teachings. So in this way, they say that the path of accumulation can be subsumed as the three Tripitaka practices: the discipline, meditation, Shila, Samadhi, and Jnana, which sometimes we call it is view, action, and meditation. So we'll stop there, everyone. Thank you. That's Buton will go to explain even more furthermore about the path of accumulation practices, because he's talking about who can come as a Buddha in the world. And he or she must have first accumulated all the 5 paths and then come to the world to display the path, show the path to others, when himself has accomplished all the path of accumulation, preparation, meditation, so seeing, meditation, and path of normal learning. So let's do the dedication merits, everyone. Thank you. Thank you.